Hello and welcome back to Games Embassy with the Ambassadors of Gaming. I'm one of your two hosts, a very sick Ambassador Chris.
And I am healthy, Ambassador Michael.
Healthy's relative, but we have news about stuff. Until I am no longer sick, enjoy my smooth jazz deep voice, because it's not going away anytime soon. My fiance thinks I should go work for a radio station.
Yeah, you do have the smooth radio voice going right now. I kind of like it.
Yeah. Well, that makes one of us, because there's like a huge... you know what? I'm not even going to go into that because it's just going to gross people out.
Right.
So
let me plug, I guess. In case you are unaware or uninitiated, we run a Patreon. It helps us fund this show. You get some special perks over there. You can get your questions on the show. You can get early access, and you get exclusive content over there every month, like an established library, if you will. So that is available over there at our Patreon. The links are available always in the descriptions. So if you would like to contribute there, that would be thankful or grateful. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you to our Patreon so far. We appreciate you. And that's it. That's all I got.
Yay. All right. Let's get into some news updates. Starting off, Microsoft rebrands Microsoft Studios as Xbox Game Studios. The company said via their blog, as we've expanded our focus beyond the console, the Xbox brand has also evolved from its original roots. Today, Xbox is our gaming brand across all devices. No matter how or where you want to play or who you want to play with, in that spirit, I'm pleased to share that we are changing the name of our game development organization from Microsoft Studios to Xbox Game Studios.
The second one on our list here is EA is planning to bring EA access to, quote, another major platform. So many are speculating that this is implying that it may be coming over to the PS4, which Sony originally blocked access to, stating they didn't feel it provided value to their players. Currently, EA access is only... Right. They care about where you spend your money. Currently, EA access is only available on Xbox. However, EA does have a Origin access on the PC, which is a separate program. There's no cross-platform, no cross-progression with those programs. However, this could be a move over to Switch, as we know that Origin Premiere streams games. However, it could also be moving to the Mac operating system as well.
Disney says they are not. Disney says that they are not going to adjust the current publishing rights to Star Wars games. Disney CEO Bob Iger, during an earnings call, stated, We're obviously mindful of the size of that business, but over the years we've tried our hand at self-publishing. And what we found that we haven't been particularly good at self-publishing. Regarding their place in games, Iger stated, we've just decided that the best place for us is to be in a space in licensing and not publishing. We have a good relationship with some of those that we're licensing to, notably EA. Sorry.
Wonderful.
You can edit that.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I got you. I'll edit it all out. It's not a big deal. Axiom Verge released on Epic's Game Store and unfortunately experienced plenty of crashes.
This is awesome, by the way.
Yeah, this is hilarious.
This is funny.
Users were complaining of many crashes in the game early on. The developer Tom Happ explained...
No. Not many crashes. There's one point. I mean, yeah, many crashes, but there's one level that as soon as it loads, like right when you load in and move, it just instantly crashes. Like there's no getting past it.
Right, which is notable. And that's the third area. And in this area, there's a bunch of Steam pipes. And they were missing their sound files. So Hap took to Twitter to state, I was thinking it being Epic and all, I shouldn't include Valve's DLLs and such. So I excluded all files with Steam in the name. Oops. So he removed all of the files with Steam, including the audio files, causing the game to crash.
That's amazing.
He has since... Right. And he has since updated the game and returned those files, so it should run as it normally would now. The reason why this was a big deal is because Axiom Verge was running free on the Epic Store as a promotion.
Yeah, it's like a Castlevania-esque.
Yeah. One of the newer Metroidvanias It's kind of credited with bringing that genre to a more public light.
All right. Moving on to the news now with my smooth, not gross voice. News. Microsoft has plans to expand Xbox Live to new platforms, including Nintendo Switch. Microsoft has an event at Game Developers Conference 2019, and it's titled Xbox Live, Growing and Engaging Your Community Across iOS, Android, Switch, Xbox, and PC. The listing goes on to explain, quote, now Xbox Live is about to get much bigger. Xbox Live is expanding from 400M Xbox Live is expanding from 400 million gaming devices and a reach to over 68 million players to over 2 billion devices with the release of our new cross-platform XDK. The kit is being developed, I'm so sorry, I can barely talk today. The kit is being designed for developers to connect players between iOS, Android, and Switch in addition to Xbox and any game in the Microsoft Store on Windows PC. The idea is to allow developers to rely on Xbox Live integration into their games, quote, by letting Microsoft managed game services handle social, communication, and multiplayer interactions across billions of screens. The only thing I care about on this is I really hope that they will let me use an Xbox Live Party on the Switch.
Right, that would be completely
rather
preferable
than using
because
a horrible app.
What do you mean, dude? The app is the future. It's the future of gaming.
Is the future of gaming not being able to hear anyone?
Yeah, that app sucks.
Is that the future of gaming?
Is it like running Skype circa 1999?
At that point, why would you not just use Discord?
Right, that's what we were talking about a while ago. When they first announced this and we tried it out, we're like, dude, just use Discord. Why didn't you just partner with Discord? Like, that would have been so much easier instead of building your own infrastructure. But whatever. Yeah, this could be really cool. I think when we were talking about it a little bit before the show, because it's kind of vague, and GDC is next month. So we're not going to know for sure until next month exactly what it is and how it works. But it sounds like essentially what it can do is integrate Xbox Live for friends list, for chat, for the multiplayer online, and also for achievements. We know right now that if you play the Minecraft that is cross-platform on Switch, you can get achievements. So that's probably going to be what we see. Right. That's probably going to be what you see, honestly, is more of that where it's like it's utilizing Xbox Live service, which I think is really, really cool because that kind of brings us to the point where Nintendo's online structure kind of sucks. No offense. But like Xbox Live is significantly better. So
Xbox Live is probably the most sophisticated online that there is, at least for consoles. It had a rough start when it released, but I mean, when a new console released, who doesn't have a rocky start with their online? Difference is that Xbox got it together and fixed it. And my Xbox keeps listening to me, and it keeps making noises.
It's like, doo-doo. Cortana. Yeah, Cortana is even worse than the Xbox Live Assistant because it'll just pop up randomly, even though I don't say anything. Anyways, yeah. So this is exciting. As long as like Cortana doesn't pop up on the Switch, that would be bad. I don't want that. Please don't.
Hi, I'm Cortana. No. Let's go ahead and move on.
Right. So we're going to talk about the Apex Legends Titanfall.
Titanfall
may still exist. However, we shouldn't be getting Titanfall 3 anytime soon. So, as we came to find out, Apex Legends is real, and it took the place of Titanfall 3. As stated before, Titanfall 3 was originally slated for a 2018 launch, but was not shaping up correctly due to the engine Respawn uses, so instead they shifted to Battle Royale. However, pretty much, they're like, well, let's do Battle Royale. That's trendy, and it'll make us money. However, Respawn did say that they're going to be working on more Titanfall-related, quote, premium content for release in 2019. This came from an earnings call. And Respawn CEO Vince Zambella went on to clarify on Twitter that, quote, we are also working on more Titanfall for later in the year. Parentheses, yes, I said the G word, end quote. So they're working on new Titanfall. They are working on 4 total games now. New Titanfall this year, a VR shooter with no real information. Apex Legends, because Battle Royale is constantly under development and changes. And Jedi Fallen Order. So they have 4 active projects, which is a lot.
I'm going to go ahead and say Apex Legends is pretty fun.
It is. It is pretty fun. We enjoyed it. A lot of people have been enjoying it.
Yeah. It's been hitting some milestones quicker than Fortnite.
It picked up steam pretty quickly.
Yeah. I do like the hero aspect of it. At first, I didn't like that you could only do things in squads, but I see why now with their respawn mechanics and everything. It's just a really cool take on the shooter. I'm hoping that they update it with like changing the map or using different maps, like adding new legends. Like when they do when Overwatch adds new characters.
Right. I think that will probably be the case. They said this is what they're going to be doing going forward, that they plan to support this pretty heavily.
Well, if people keep playing it, yeah.
Now the meme going around is that EA stock bounced back pretty hard after Apex was announced. Because they did their earnings call recently. Their stock went down, and their stock had been going down for a while. And then Apex came out, and their stock bounced back up.
Well, aside from, we'll talk about this in another article later, but aside from just the whole EA Battlefront situation that we first set them on a downhill track, game studios are not doing well right now. In general, these big game companies are losing money. They're not doing well. I don't know why exactly, but they're just not doing well.
They're not maintaining the amount of sales that they were, and that's because the landscape has kind of changed. For example, in the EU and certain parts of Europe, loot boxes are getting banned, or they're being classified as gambling, and they're just removing them entirely from the games. So that makes a big difference. They're kind of removing loot boxes from a lot of games in general and switching over to just microtransactions in general. Again, Apex has loot boxes, but they're no repeat cosmetics, but it's also a free-to-play game, so you can kind of do that. So
yeah, I get you. Well, I am excited for when a new Titanfall game comes out. Hopefully it'll do better than Titanfall 2, because Titanfall 2 is supposed to continually get free support too. Like once you bought the game, the maps were going to be free, this and that were going to be free. But because the game did so bad, because everyone was playing the new Call of Duty and the new Battlefield, they just kind of abandoned it.
Exactly. I have one last thing to say, and I hate to say it, but it's just the feeling I have. This is EA. So I need it to be known that in my gut, I feel that this new Titanfall game is going to be a mobile game, and it's going to fucking break my heart.
No. Please no.
I feel it. I hope I'm wrong. But I saw them do it with Command & Conquer and a bunch of other games. They did it to Peggle. I don't want it to happen, but it may happen.
Please no. So, moving on. Voice chat software utilized in Fortnite on Switch is now available for all developers. Where there's a will, there's a way. Vivox, I think that's how that's pronounced, the company that developed the voice chat software for Fortnite on the Switch, has stated that any authorized Switch developer can now integrate its Vivox SDK software kit into their game. The software works in a much more traditional sense. You just plug in the headset with a microphone into the Switch and it works. Game chat. Yay. Who would have thought it's that simple? Unlike having to use, I don't know, a pesky phone application that doesn't really work all that well. I mean, at least outside the dock, you can use a normal headset if you need to use the TV mode, which, I mean, to get the best internet, you kind of have to have it plugged into the dock, unless you get like some sort of fancy adapter that works just when you're holding it, which you can. There are a whole bunch of USB-C to like dongles specifically designed for the Switch. You can basically just get a really long headphone set adapter thing so that your 3.5 millimeter headset jack will stretch across the room.
Right. It's going to be inevitable that somebody, I'm assuming some company will eventually create a wireless like dongle kind of thing for the Switch where you can plug it into the jack, but we're not there yet.
That's just it though. You need to think about data support because ports aren't just, it's not that simple. You'll notice that the Switch has 3 USB ports, correct? You'll notice the 2 on the side, and there's one in the back, and the one on the back is labeled with blue. The one on the back is a USB 3.0 port, and it supports data. And that's why you can use the that's why you have to plug the Ethernet dongle adapter, because that supports it. But the 3.5 millimeter headset jack might not support data in the same way, so you can't plug it into there. There are people making Bluetooth dongle adapters that plug into the base, that plug into the USB-C base, because that has to support data in order to interact with the Ethernet port on the dock. So it's kind of one of those things. Right now, you have to pick one or the other. You can have it docked, or you can have a Bluetooth headset. One or the other. Unless, like I said, unless of course you get one of those fancy USB dongles, which can work if you want to pay some more money.
It's a needlessly complex situation, honestly.
I'm a huge Switch advocate, so I know all about this stuff. I just got a Switch grip that actually fits in the dock without having to take it off, which is pretty awesome.
What is the grip? What is it, like a case for it? Like for the actual screen?
Yeah, it's a case that goes on it, and it gives you like it acts as a grip, and it also fits into the dock.
Innovation. Look at that.
So yeah, okay, we're branching off a little bit.
A little bit. Let's get back on track here. Chugga. All right. So number 4 here on our list is Skybound Games has announced a new publishing deal. Now you may ask, who the hell is Skybound Games? And who is the publisher Beamdog? Well, don't worry. I'll clue you in. Skybound Games will be the developer that will be remastering the Dungeons & Dragons games for consoles, and Beamdog are the IP owners who previously brought the enhanced versions of the Dungeons & Dragons games to PC. So the new deal will allow Skybound to bring games that were previously only on PC to consoles, and honestly, it's a lot of games. So we have 6 games coming to console this year, 2019. You have Baldur's Gate 1, Baldur's Gate 2, Baldur's Gate Siege of Dragonspear, Icewind Dale, Planescape Torment, and Neverwinter Nights. It is important to note, for me, that I played Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance on PS2, and it's actually quite good. So if those other games follow that kind of trend, I'm pretty excited for these. So I like dungeon crawlers though, so it's kind of my foray.
I have never played any of those games at all.
We never played PC, so the only one I've played is that PS2 one, and I only played it because somebody I knew happened to have it. And that was recently. That was probably 3-4 years ago. Like this was like once I bought my PS2 again. So that's kind of cool. I mean, I like seeing games that had a smaller audience or weren't accessible to everybody brought so that everybody can access them. It's kind of weird though that they didn't announce what systems they're coming to.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So we don't know if it's coming to everything. They didn't mention. I'm going to assume Xboxes will be on the list because they run pretty similarly to Windows. And I would assume PlayStation 4 would be on there because it's a high-selling console. I don't know if they'll show up on Switch, though. Because everybody now, when they refer to consoles, Switch is like the outlier. They're like, yeah, we're bringing the game to console.
Yeah, people feel they need to clarify. People feel they need to clarify that like it's coming to console and Switch.
The Switch is a console.
But it's not exactly the same powerhouse as either the PS4 or the Xbox. So, all right, here comes something fun. Here comes something really fun. Is everyone ready? So, Pennsylvania introduces a new violent video game tax. Yeah. The bill will seek to impose this tax at retail for games that are rated M or for adults only. Tax would be an additional 10% on top of the state and local taxes. The current sales tax rate in PA is 6%, which inflates $60 games to $64. After the proposed bill, 10% tax would go to $69.60. So the state representative, Chris Quinn, who happens to be a Republican, just in case you're wondering, brought the bill forward in 2018, but it didn't make it past the initial committee during a 2018 legislation session. Quinn, when speaking about the proposed bill, stated, "One factor that may be contributing to the rise in and intensity of school violence in material kids see and act out in video games." Yeah. We all know that's the case. This hasn't been investigated 100 times. Yeah, dude, definitely. Violent video games breed violent children. I'm sorry, before I continue this has been investigated 100 times. Everyone always, I feel like once every few years, has to come out of the woodwork and say, hey, these violent games are causing violent children. And every time it's proven to be false. But now I'm going to get to the actual proof behind that. Quinn cited the National Center for Health Research statement that studies demonstrate a link between violent video games and an increase in aggressive thoughts and behaviors. The statement, however, adds a disclaimer that other factors such as mental illness, access to weapons, and adverse environments should be considered as risk factors. The study also states that aggression is not shown to lead to increased instances of deadly violence or criminal activity. So basically saying, yeah, I mean, it's kind of true if you just cut that little part out of the study, which is what a bunch of people like this do. They cut one thing out of the study and go, hey, see, told you so. No, read it. Yeah, you can't just pull one piece out of a study. It doesn't work that way. The Entertainment Software Association, an organization that lobbies on behalf of the games industry, gave a statement to Variety, quote, "Numerous authorities, including scientists, medical professionals, government agencies, and the U.S. Supreme Court, found that video games do not cause violence. We encourage Pennsylvania legislators to work with us to raise awareness about parental controls and the ESRB video game rating system, which are effective tools to ensure parents maintain control over the video games played in their home." So if you see, next time you think about this violence, you think about that dad who's standing outside at the midnight release of a Call of Duty so that he can give it to his 6-year-old.
Right. There's a reason the ESRB was founded in the first place. And it was because of specifically Mortal Kombat. And as we know, Mortal Kombat is one of the most brutal, gory games, period, even currently. And the ESRB, you can't walk into GameStop as a 10-year-old and buy Call of Duty. You can't. They won't do it. The store will not sell it to you. You can't do it at Best Buy. You can't do it anywhere. No company will sell you, the game at 10 years old. If you walk in with your parent and your parent decides to buy that for you, that's not their call. That's not their call to make. They'll sell it to your dad. They don't know if it's for you or not. And even if it is, it's not like tobacco and alcohol sales where the intent matters.
Yeah.
Because it's not a law.
This tax, what they're going, and I'm pretty sure he knows this tax is not going to deter people from buying games. All it's going to do is just hurt the industry in Pennsylvania. People are still going to buy the games. If it costs an extra few bucks, people are still going to buy the games. And the difference is they're just going to collect another pretty penny off of it. That's the only difference.
Right. And that's a lot of money, $5 per game.
Yeah. You think that Call of Duty, one of the best-selling games every year, is all of a sudden in Pennsylvania, the sales are just going to drop off because you made it a few extra bucks? Like, no, you're just doing this to collect a tax, to collect money. That's all this is.
Right. We talk about, well, I don't talk about it here, but I've talked about it in my personal life, and taxes and tariffs don't deter people from purchasing things. That's why it doesn't work with tobacco. That's why it doesn't work with alcohol. That's why it doesn't work with that when the vape stuff came around and the FDA wanted to regulate it just like they do cigarettes, and they started taxing it just like they do cigarettes. It hasn't deterred people at all. They still buy it in the same frequency that they were buying it. So it doesn't work like that. And also the ASRB is there. Also, parental controls are there. And yeah, there's all these variety of factors. It's just a scapegoat, honestly. It's really what it is. It's just scapegoating it.
So we'll move off this because this will get more into a tax and policy thing other than a game show. But all I'm saying is just all this is just having them just collect a little extra money. People are still going to buy violent games, and you know it. So don't try and make it sound like you're high and mighty because if we put this tax on here, it'll deter people. No, it won't, and you know it. So,
and just because a game is rated M doesn't mean it's necessarily violent. A lot of games that are rated M have drug relations or sexual relations in it, not just violence. Violence is a key factor, sure, but it's not the only factor. So it's even deceiving in that term. So, but I'll leave it at that, and we'll just move on to the next thing here. Number 6, Activision has decided to offer refunds for buyers of Guitar Hero Live. That seems very... Yeah, it came out when? In 2017? It's not that old. It came out around the same time as Rock Band 4. Anyways, players who purchased the game in the United States between December 1st of 2017 and January 1st of 2019 may receive a refund for their purchase by filing a claim via Activision's support site. You have until May 1st, 2019 to get your claim in, otherwise you may not be able to get a refund. The server shut down for Guitar Hero Live at the end of 2018, so the game is essentially dead due to how the game was structured to have continuous music library updates, similar to how MTV used to play videos in rotation. Guitar Hero Live had rotating songs updated regularly, which was one of its main shticks. And what I read this morning from Eurogamer was that there was a library of about 500 songs, and since Activision shut it all down, now you only have access to 48 songs. So... yeah, basically they killed the game because they weren't making their return, I guess, on investment. I'm not really sure. So
yeah, it makes it, they got updating songs over and over again if they're not paying like a fee or something. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And it's also different now. It used to be back in the day that licensing fee, you license the music one time, right? But because everything is continuous now, you have to consistently re-up those licenses. So that's probably what happened here, is Activision was just like, this is going to cost us a lot of money to re-license these games every year. Let's just not do that because we're not making that much money.
Exactly. It's just not very profitable. All right, moving on to the next one. But first, I'm going to cough. All right, in our last piece of news, Activision plans to announce job cuts on Tuesday. If you're hearing this on Patreon, by the way, you might not be familiar with this scenario because it hasn't actually... This is more of a rumor. It hasn't been directly announced yet. If you're hearing on our free feeds, the news may have already broken out. Bloomberg published a report that due to, quote, slowing sales, Activision, according to Bloomberg sources, people familiar with the matter are going to be announcing some layoffs. Kotaku's Jason Schreier also had a similar story to tell, saying that, quote, first heard word of upcoming layoffs late last year. At the time, Activision and Blizzard staff told me they expected the axe to fall in February, and I started hearing more and more rumors earlier this week, with whispers suggesting that the layoffs would happen ahead of the publisher's quarterly earnings call, which is on Tuesday, February 12th. Blizzard during 2018 had to make a ton of cost cutting, being asked to reduce spending and produce more games. Blizzard CEO Mike Morhaime stepped down in October and was replaced with J. Allen Brack, however, not as CEO, but as president. Activision stated they were disappointed in how Destiny 2's Forsaken expansion, quote, failed to meet expectations. Activision then decided with Bungie to part ways and let them keep the IP rights for Destiny. So the people most in danger of losing their jobs would appear right now to be the team that worked on Destiny's marketing, PR, all support roles, and unfortunately, including the studios that worked on Destiny's content and DLC. If you're unaware, that is High Moon Studios and Vicarious Visions. Right? It's High Moon Studios and Vicarious Visions. Yeah, okay. Kotaku reports that there have been sparse opportunities for staff to move on to other projects, and the team is worried about their job security. It's noteworthy that High Moon Studios and Vicarious Visions worked on a lot of aspects of Destiny and Destiny 2. Those teams will now not have projects lined up for future Destiny projects. So basically, they haven't been moved to really do anything since Activision cut ties with Bungie. So they're ripe for layoffs.
Right. And so there's a couple things I want to go through and just kind of highlight here. At the beginning of this year, or at the beginning of 2018, they gave a $15 million bonus to their CFO. Just throwing that out there. It's fact. Yeah. So maybe not give $15 million bonuses and you can afford to keep some of your employees. Yeah, that's true. But also Activision is still one of the most profitable companies in the world. Or at least in games.
Yeah.
So,
but it's one of those things, you always want to earn profit and you always want to increase in profit. And if your profit ever starts to go down, like even if you're doing way better than you were 2 years ago, even if your profit goes down slightly, they still consider that failing. Do you know what I mean?
Right. That's what this quote slowing sales even means for those uninitiated. It doesn't mean that they're in a decline. It doesn't mean that they're not profiting. It just means we're selling 75 million copies instead of 100 million copies. You know, they're still making more than enough money. The thing with Blizzard here is that apparently Activision is upset that Blizzard isn't producing games like Call of Duty does, where they're not putting out a game frequently. The last game Blizzard put out was Overwatch. And before that, it was Diablo, right? Diablo 3? It was either that or World of Warcraft expansion.
Oh, I can't remember. There is a new World of Warcraft expansion that came out not too long ago. We talked about it on the show.
Right. So in terms of full-fledged games, though, they don't release full-fledged games very often.
Oh, it would be Overwatch, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Overwatch, and then before that was probably Diablo 3. So, and that was in 2012, so 4 years between games, which is not crazy. That's a pretty standard time for most studios, 3 to 4 years. And they released Hearthstone, so they are putting out games. They're just not putting out games every year. They're just not putting out 2 or 3 games every year.
Yeah, Blizzard is known for making art, though. Like, Blizzard games are good games. As particularly, definitely Diablo. The entire Diablo franchise has been really well received, and Overwatch is considered to be one of the best shooters and inspired a whole freaking genre. Yeah, it was definitely the most successful. That's why I said inspired a genre. So, I mean, I understand that this was the issue that Bungie had with Activision. And we've gone over this 100 times. Bungie was not ready to release Destiny 2. Activision said, you need to release it. It's like, well, it's not done yet. They're like, well, make it done. So they, quote, finished it with a bunch of content not in it. Activision released it. Oh, what a shock. Hey, there's no content. There's nothing to do. Hey, you guys need to finish your first expansion. We still haven't even finished the endgame content that we were supposed to put in the original game. We can't make an expansion yet. You need to release an expansion. Release Curse of Osiris, considered to be the worst expansion ever. in Destiny. This is how studios produce poop.
Right. On that tight deadline. Don't get me wrong. I think Bungie fumbled a bunch of shit. Especially with Destiny 1. Because Destiny 1, they could have had it done way sooner. They screwed it up. They started a new engine. They did a whole bunch of stuff they had to redo. So that's kind of on them. But yeah, Activision is really, really harsh. That's just how it is. And it's unfortunate. And now we're in this scenario where they've lost one of their major IPs. So the only thing they have that Activision Studios are banking on is Call of Duty. Activision doesn't make anything else. They used to make licensed games. That's how they made a lot of their extra money and did like their artistic stuff. They lost all those licenses. Nobody is giving them a new chance to do those games. Hasbro took away the Transformers license. Marvel took away their license. So, pretty much they got tired of it, from my understanding, of Activision just turning out games that were mediocre, because they would turn out games that were really good sometimes, but a lot of the times they would turn out mediocre games. And so Marvel had enough. And so Activision's in this weird scenario where they're like, sure, you can write Call of Duty until it dies, but what are you going to do after that? You got nothing. You got Blizzard. That's all you got. So I'm worried about High Moon and Vicarious Visions. If those two studios honestly just turn out to be remaster studios, I'd be fine with that. You know what I mean? Because Vicarious is the one that did the Crash. Right, exactly. And Crash was good. The remaster of Crash was pretty good. And done well, received well. So my thing is like, what are you going to do for games? Like, what are you going to put out outside of Call of Duty? Like, that's my question. You got talented teams all over the place. And Activision, as far as I know, Destiny was the first new IP they've created, or quote, created, in years. Like, I mean, Blizzard is the one that creates the new IPs. They're the ones that really churn out the artistic stuff. But Activision's just really been churning out Call of Duty and licensed games since Call of Duty 4. Because they put out Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. That game sucked.
I mean, Tony Hawk games have kind of went away. They're not as big of a deal as they used to be. But anyway, we are going to go ahead and drop this off here. Try and check us out at least once a week. That's how often we try and do this. Hopefully next week I won't sound like this. So anyway, we're going to get out of here. I'm Ambassador Chris.
And I'm Ambassador Michael.
And we'll see you next time if I haven't embraced death yet.
Goodbye, potentially forever friends.
We're gone.